Hey all, welcome back to another video. So today we're gonna have a pretty quick, short thing. I noticed that if you saw in the past videos, we are starting to actually getting some of our tests failing and GitLab. And so I wanted to show what are these problems. You come into our test API and everything is failing with this 403. And so I wanted to dive into that. We can actually see why we're getting all these failures. I have the test running here locally now, and we're getting everything failing except this one. And this is all, remember, 403 means we're getting it's related to authentication. So what we've been doing in the past is we have this static key, and we have been mocking. Remember, we have mocked our verify code, but our problem is we're not even hitting our mock. So our verify code that's mocked is down here, but if we come in here and we say no public key, we should see this being logged out. Yeah. And so the reason for this, and this is just another thing of not really using this authentication style in the past, is we can't even rely on these Google public keys to remain static over time. And so, I was trying to think, well, should we be mocking these? Um, I don't really, I don't think there's a great way to mock this without potentially like using another library. For us, we are literally calling Axios and just looking at the response and getting all the keys. So I think instead of doing this, what we can do instead is if we go into this function here, this takes this, we only need this public key and our verify function itself. And so I actually think what we could do is just modify this to take a public key. So almost generally, we're always going to have this, and if not, we're going to throw 403 anyways. So the end result is a 403 error, no matter what. And so I think because of that, instead of having this permissions, what we could do is just pass in an undefined public key, or just an empty string public key, and our verify will fail, which we would want anyways. If there was no public key in production, we want this to fail with a 403. So I think we can just kind of hack this together so we'll take some of these out. So we have this public key, and that's going to get passed to this JWK. So I think what we can do is just take this function out, and we can actually remove this and throw this here. Now this is probably going to complain. Yes. Up here it's complaining. We should see an error where, yeah, expected this JWK to be an object. And so that's this guy, and this is actually an empty array. So what we can do here is we are getting these public keys, but it's empty. I think what we can do is, I wonder if we can just do this. We can actually just use this null coalescence. Okay, so we're not going to do that. What we're going to do is we're going to use a public key if we've got it, or we're going to use an empty string. Let's see if this works for us. Yes. So that actually got all our tests passing. Yeah, I do think that this is fine with, we always are going to get some keys back from the public key. So this should always be an array. And yeah, well, if we don't have a public key at all, we'll just use an empty public key, which will always fail our verify, and we'll always send back that 403. So tests are passing, and that's going to be it for today's video. We're going to hop back into our deployment stuff, but this was really part of it. We really, um, eventually, once we get our deployment scripts running well, uh, we're going to only want to deploy if our tests pass. So this was really important for that process. So I'll see you in the next one.